Hello, I'm Greg Crowther, and I'm here to talk with you about pitfalls of writing and using STEM songs, a personal perspective. So this talk is basically a catalog of blunders I've made in teaching biology with music, and I'm hoping you can learn from these blunders and maybe avoid them. And on the right here, I have some questions for you to ponder as you hear the remainder of this presentation. So let's get right to it with blunder number one, or pitfall number one, which I'm calling vanity. And this is essentially the delusion that students will finally understand some topic when they hear my clever song parody. So the reality is that cleverness, while wonderful in and of itself, does not necessarily equate to educational usefulness. And as an example, I have my song Myofibrils to the tune of My Sharona about muscle function.
My little filaments, actin and myosin, myofibrils, proteins that are long in discs, making up the structure of the myofibrils, signal from the brain right to the nerves to the muscle where the myosin inside will slide past the actin of the
So, a fun song. The problem is, myofibrils is not one of the key vocabulary terms I want my students to know. So the song is emphasizing the wrong thing. Bad. As a better example of using music, we have here a song from UW atmospheric scientist Dargan Frierson, who teaches atmospheric science, and one of the critical concepts in that course is the concept of albedo, which is the fraction of sunlight that is reflected back by the Earth rather than being absorbed. And he has a song about that.
Tiny droplets in the sky, cirrus stratus way up high, where there is cloud albedo.
So very nice emphasis of that important vocabulary term. Pitfall number two, the genre trap. You may have thoughts like this one. Students mainly listen to rap, so maybe I should rap, or maybe I shouldn't bother singing my silly folk songs. Well, yes, many of our high school and college students in particular do like rap, but they also value quality and authenticity. So maybe if you're not a rapper, maybe do the thing that you do. I have some data from a study that is still being written up where we showed some different songs to college biology students, and the songs were in different genres. These are songs I wrote. The song they liked overall, most of all, was a folk song, which folk not being a genre that many of them like or listen to, but nonetheless, that's the song that was rated highest, and here it is.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. When you wanna think alike Croissant, there's a formula you employ. When the blood flows around and around and around, the flow rate through a given vessel can be found as R times R times R times R. That's R to the fourth times delta V. And that's all divided by 8 over pi times the length of the vessel times viscosity. R times R times R times R. That's R to the fourth times delta V. And that's all divided by 8 over pi times the length of the vessel times viscosity.
So why did they like that song? Well, it's a good song. Students value that. Next pitfall, content spewing lecture-like songs. An idea here being, I'm just going to cram all of the facts into a song so that students remember all of those facts. Well, songs aren't going to be memorable unless the melody and the rhymes and the beat are well done so that the song is a memorable one. So you can't just pack a whole bunch of facts into a song and assume that that will make it easier to remember. And if it's a long song packed with facts, then it really does have to be especially good for students to want to bother to memorize it. So more data from that study I was just referring to. Those 5 songs we studied were very short, 47 seconds long at the maximum, but nonetheless, about 10% of the time students reported that even those tiny short jingles were too long and or too dense. So be cautious about creating long songs packed with lots and lots of facts. Pitfall number 4, assuming that students can read your mind. I've certainly had the thought that, oh, these lyrics are wonderful, the students are going to know exactly what I mean. The song speaks for itself. Well, no, the song doesn't speak for itself. Students almost always need help interpreting the lyrics and using them. And this was a major point from last year's Voices presentation by Kristen Chavis, who showed us what she does, which is she plays the song that she wrote for students, gives them a copy of the lyrics, which is great, so they can read along, sing along, but then critically, she then provides a worksheet so that they have to use the facts from the song to fill out the worksheet to make sure they're really getting what she wanted them to get out of the song. And she did this specifically because she used to assume that the songs spoke for themselves, and they didn't. The students need the reinforcement of that worksheet. Pitfall number 5, isolation. So some of us like to think that we're pretty good at writing science songs, and so it's tempting just to go it alone. It's often easier that way. But here's a reminder that even if you are really good, you can almost always get help and create a song that's even better with somebody else's input and feedback. So as one example of that, I wrote a song about mitosis last year, and then I took it to Monty Harper for some final editing. And Monty's not a biologist. He doesn't know that much about mitosis, but with his songwriter's insight combined with his interest in science, he was able to craft this wonderful final verse in which he really sort of helps us zoom out to the bigger picture. So he concluded, "In the end, we'll understand we were part of something grand. All life on Earth is made of cells dividing." So a really wonderful sweep with those lyrics that I hadn't even thought to attempt before Monty got involved. So collaboration is great. Finally, pitfall number 6, throwing students into the deep end. Some of us may think, oh, students should write their own songs because that's active learning, and active learning is better. Well, yes, but as people like Lodge McCammon have pointed out, most students are novice scientists and novice songwriters, so asking them to write a song about science is asking them to do 2 things simultaneously that they're not very good at yet. So if you're going to throw them into the deep end, you need to give them a life raft, or maybe make sure the pool is shallow, or maybe find other ways for them to actively learn using music without having to compose entire songs by themselves. So what I'm saying here is that when we have specific things we're trying to teach in the classroom, we need to think about the learning objectives, and then for each one ask, does a song make sense for this situation with this learning objective? And sometimes the answer is no. If the answer is yes, then give it a shot and assess how that went and refine your approach. What I'm trying to tell people not to do is, don't fall in love with your own song and then just kind of cram it into the lesson because you love the song and then try to justify the song's inclusion later. Not ideal. So finally, in conclusion, music is a powerful enhancer of learning, but it is not pixie dust that can be sprinkled onto any lesson to make it better. So let's maximize student learning by deploying music selectively, thoughtfully, and rigorously.